Well, I think I can speak for the team of researchers that worked on this study with me that we certainly weren't expecting to find so many HIV controllers, which are a group of people who are able to naturally suppress HIV without taking any medication, which makes this study truly groundbreaking, that we're able to find so many people that can give us hope about how we could potentially understand how the body fights HIV naturally to potentially unlock new cures or strategies for vaccines. And we at Abbott have been working on HIV for decades. We had the first HIV test approved by the FDA in 1985. And so we've been working on HIV for a long time. We know that this is especially important today because there are 38 million people worldwide living with HIV, and we need to continue this work to try and identify new ways to help those patients.
Now, from what I can understand, Mary, it was unusual to have such a high level of these elite controllers, as you call them. Why do you think that was?
There certainly were a lot more than we were ever expecting to find. In fact, as we started this study, we were really looking for the ability to sequence HIV in the first place to try and identify whether there were new strains emerging. And so we were really surprised to find that there were so many patients who just didn't have any virus itself, even though they had been infected because they were positive for antibodies to HIV. So by finding so many people, this is, if you take the example of another country in Africa, Botswana, the prevalence of patients like these are 10 times lower in other countries. And that's true for a lot of studies out there in other parts of the world, in Europe, in the United States, and elsewhere, where we really don't see very many people. There's maybe a handful here and there. And so when we find a prevalence rate of up to 4.3% here in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's real power in those numbers because that represents thousands of people who we could potentially be learning from.
It was almost as if they were mimicking their own antiretroviral within their bodies. That this, how do you think their bodies naturally suppress HIV?
We systematically eliminated a lot of potential explanations, including whether or not people were taking antiretrovirals. And so after we completely removed patients who were on therapy, we were left with this still large number of people who were able to naturally suppress HIV. We know from other people in other geographies who are able to do this as well that there might be something unique about their immune response. And so that's what's really the million-dollar question here. We want to understand what makes these people different so that we can learn from them and hopefully apply that to new therapies and potentially vaccines.
So let's talk a little how you use this information. How will you then specifically study the small group who seem to be able to suppress HIV?
We see this study as being a springboard for investigators around the world to now bring their focus to this unique group of people in sub-Saharan Africa so that the whole scientific community can now engage and try and understand them. It's really going to take a big group effort to really understand what's going on underlying this phenomenon.
Is it possible that it is unique to this particular region? I mean, this, is it not, is the area where it's considered that HIV originated?
Correct. This is the part of the world where HIV first originated. And so it's possible that this might actually be where the cure for HIV originates as well. And that remains to be seen.
Yeah. So you're optimistic that this could potentially lead to something significant, even a potential cure?
Yes, if we can better understand how this large group of people are able to suppress the virus, then potentially we could take what we learned from them and apply it to develop new therapeutics and potentially prevent infections too by harnessing the power of the specific part of their immune response that could be then translated into a vaccine down the road.
And so what are the next steps?
The next steps from here are for the scientific community at large to continue to engage in finding new therapeutics and vaccines and focus specifically on the patients that we've identified in this study so that we can learn from them.
Mary, really terrific to talk. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.